We're back. We're ready
Back.
to go. Now, if you're watching this now, you're a superstar. If you're watching this in the future, welcome back to the future. We are here on Cyclone Narelle Day or whatever it is. So hopefully you're all nice and dry inside somewhere, and you avoid getting too wet over the weekend. But number 3 in the series of the Brutally Honest Startup series. They've all been good. Each one gets better. I did the first one, which was setting the bar low. We had Mike come in and blow us away a few weeks ago with his fundraising directness, which is what we want. And talking about direct, we've got Andy the Man Lamb here to direct us in the right way. Because the whole intention with the series is to basically explain what a startup needs to get right, but also not with the fluff and all the sort of the stuff that goes around sometimes with conversations about being a startup and how exciting it is. And we all know we love being startups and all the passion that goes with it. But let's just get some of the reality in there as well, and sort of focus on the millions of things you've got to do in your journey. Like just get a few of these really critical ones right, and try to diminish. We're all going to make mistakes. Or you're always going to do something wrong and you're going to figure it out as you go. But there are some things, if you've got a little bit of a heads up on it, you'll make less mistakes on it because you'll know how important it is. And this topic is absolutely one of those. But it's also important because I think this topic, and a lot of them, there's different ways to define these words. And so you can go, okay, what's your product market fit? What's all those sorts of things? What's your value proposition? But they can get derailed very quickly. And you can get, and you would have seen, I'm sure, mate, 1,000 different versions of people. Yeah, I've got my product market fit, right? I know what I'm doing. And you go, no, that's not product market fit. That's your wish list or whatever it is. So we're going to let Andy run wild and free on this topic. The reason we've got him, he is a genuine rock star of Australian startups and innovation. Andy works across Australia with mentoring, training, and educating and supporting startups from deep tech all the way through to corporate. Whether you're lucky enough to get Andy one-on-one or you get him as part of a training cohort or a program, you're getting one of the most experienced people in Australia that knows this space from personal experience and as well as from education, training and everything else. And also he's a public speaker. So we expect high things from the content perspective and the engagement with the audience. So we can't get any better.
Man, there's no pressure, is there?
Absolutely.
There's no pressure. I'm just letting you take the hour, so that's fine.
Exactly. You've got your one slide and we've finished. Mate, we've thrown up your first slide. Can you just either get us started? You've thrown some big words and a big name on that screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why are we starting here?
So look, I think this number one thing, and this slide kind of goes. I mean, everyone's been able to have a look at this slide as we you've been dialing in. And I think it's one of the things that I see consistently is people have an idea. They think about trying to do something different, and there's just this. I know everyone says that they want to get customers, but I think the behaviour around how do they get customers can be fundamentally flawed. And I'm talking in generalisations, right? So I'm not, as much as some people go, yeah, but I do this, and and yeah, but I don't do that, and everything else. This is talking generalisations. And so Steve Blank, that's been around for a number of years, heavily involved in the lean startup movement. Has this quote that most innovations fail not due to the failure of the product development, but due to the lack of customers, right? Poor adoption comes from the inability to deliver a unique solution to an unresolved pain faster, better, or cheaper, right? And that's fundamentally what we're trying to do as entrepreneurs and startup founders. And we're trying to wedge ourselves into an ecosystem, right? Into a market that is already operating generally, right? There is a train of thought that says there are no unique ideas. It's just everything is iterated on top of it. So if you take that as not gospel, but if you take that as a statement, is you're always going to pop up into a market where there is a competing product, or there is a substitute of where somebody else is doing something to solve the same problem, but maybe in a different way. And I think a lot of people go, I have no competitors. I've seen it time and time again on bloody pitch decks. Yep. Who's your competitors? I have none, right? And it's absolute bullshit. And I'm assuming because this is brutally honest, I can swear.
You can throw as many
Good.
of the blue words in as you want.
So, and that one thing that really annoys me about, pitch decks is I've never seen one of those slides that's got, your competitors in, and miraculously that all your competitors have crosses, but you're the only product that has all the ticks.
I love it.
It's kind of pointless because it just shows a lack of depth of understanding of the market that you're potentially popping out into. All right. So that's one of those things. And I think if you go, have you got the clicker? Go to the next. I think the next slide. I threw these together this morning as some talking
you
points.
didn't weeks ago because you're so organised. Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
So these are, look, it doesn't matter where you go, but I think that, when we're looking at startup failures, the number one and the number two things are no market need and ran out of cash.
Yep.
Right? They are both basically the same thing, because if you can't understand how to get market need, you can't understand, to quote, product market fit, you're going to run out of capital. So it's as simple as that.
So even if you sort of go back, the first fundamental point, where you go, well, how can I fail if I haven't got any customers? Because I haven't built my product. You go, so it's because I can't raise money. So how do you sort of say? So someone says, oh, well, it's because there's not enough investors, and they won't give me money because there's no investors. So how can you possibly say there's lack of customers?
So I've been doing this for like 15 years, right? And so some of my background is, instead of doing an MBA that I was tried to get supported to do, I was working for Goldman Sachs in Melbourne. And instead of doing that, I did a Masters of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Swinburne. And even back then, there was always this thing of, my only problem is there isn't enough investors. There's not enough money. Yep. And I'll call bullshit on it, right? Because there is always more money than good investable opportunities, right? And so what investors are often looking for is, like, if you've got, if you're, I don't know, an Elon Musk type dude, right? Or dudette. And you've raised money, you've built billion-dollar businesses, you've got the runs on the board for that. Going out and speaking to investors and saying, I've got an idea, I think this is what we want to do, this is the market, this is the problem, you're probably going to get more notice from them because you've done it before. Where most people are, like 1, 2, 3 time founders, is you don't actually have that. And so what happens is you go out, and what investors are looking for is evidence that you really understand your customer.
Yep.
You really understand the value proposition that you're going to take to them.
Yet.
Yeah, because you haven't got off your ass and gone and found out, right? And so this is the,
But I can't. Why should I go and talk to a customer if I haven't got something to show them?
Because people turn around and they go, because I don't want to share what I've got.
Yeah.
Because they'll steal my idea. And the thing is, whatever your widget is, you're solving a problem.
Yep.
So you can go and speak to them about that problem. You don't have to sit there and go, I've got a product now, or I've got this, or I've got, whatever. If you talk to them about their problem, that's how you start to work out how you're going to solve it.
Yeah, but I spoke to my mates in the lab, or I spoke to my mum, and that they all agree that this is the problem.
It. Yeah, beware of positive bias.
And I've Google searched it.
Yeah, and AI searched it as well. That's the other thing that's happening at the moment.
So I'm fine. I'm ready to rock. Sure.
Yeah. Look, the fundamental thing is, and I'm brutally honest with people like this that I'm either coaching or coming through programs or talking about. My number one biggest thing is get off your ass and go and speak to people, right? And learn the art of customer and problem discovery. Yep. Because fundamentally, when we build value propositions, when we make an assumption, we use our own biases, we use our understanding of the industry that we're in. It is inherently biased because it is actually your perception of what you believe to be true, not from the horse's mouth. Yep. And so really that's the fundamental premise I think that most people miss. We're all busy. It's a hell of a lot easier to do this now with AI tools as well. And I won't even, we might get into that, but I think if you want to stand out, that intimate knowledge of who is potentially going to be your customer and the problem that you are solving for them, with them identifying the problem in their words, that's the really powerful bit up front. And then you can build what your value proposition is to solve that problem for them.
So surely the problem's obvious.
Well, no. Because your perception of the problem,
Yep.
my perception of the problem is I don't have a coffee at the moment.
Yes.
Right? So you're
Yep.
a bad host.
Oh, well, I know, that's assumed.
Right?
Yeah.
Your view of that is
Yep.
that it's raining outside and you would have got me one if I'd have turned around earlier and said, hey, can you please get me a...
Or if I cared about it.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
So even though the problem is that I don't have a coffee, your view of what the issue is of that is different to mine.
Yeah. So surely I should just solve that with a app that delivers you a coffee.
You could do, or I could do that myself, and then I say that I don't have a problem because I've looked after myself.
So when people say that again, don't have a problem, or there isn't a competitor, or whatever it is.
Yep.
So I think one of the common answers is, well, not common answers, but the potential answers as well is everyone has a competitor, even if doing nothing is the competition.
Yeah.
So no action is in that's not a big enough problem to solve.
Yeah.
And so your competitor is no action.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it.
Lethargy and just that whole premise of going, I don't need to change.
Yes.
Right? So, and I think that's when you go and speak to people and you do, and I'm not talking about surveys and things like that, which of these things do you love?
Yep.
A, B, C, and you're like, no, go and have a conversation with them.
Yep.
Because you're actually solving a problem for a person.
But when you talk about a customer, I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but when you talk about a customer, there's the next level to that problem is how much are they going to pay to fix it? There's a hand just appeared under the table, under the computer. So are they going to, so is the problem big enough? So we justify they've got a problem, you go out and speak to these people, and then you come back and you go, great, now I know there's a problem, I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
But what have they missed and when they haven't covered a cost solution to that problem?
Yeah, and look, there's a couple of different points to this, right? So if you're looking at the deep tech, deep science that's got a 10-year lifespan,
yes,
is you have to plough a lot of patient capital into some of those things,
yes,
to potentially pop out the other end,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I get that.
Yep.
The other one is we are constantly bombarded day in, day out with new products, new services, new offerings,
Yep.
and you're not motivated to buy all of those products, services, and offerings anyway. Yep. So, and my view is I might value, I don't know, I'll move off the coffee. I might value a glass of water or a glass, right? And I go, oh, well, that's a bit too thick, so I don't really like that glass. What I like is a really nice thin glass, a Rydell glass, or, I'll be prepared to pay a little bit extra for it.
Yeah,
Whereas you go, well, I can't claim any of that on R&D tax, so we're just getting the Kmart ones, right? And it kind of looks the same. So the motivations around where you're trying to work out, are you motivated to do that, is completely different for different parts of even potentially the same customer segment.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And people just don't, I don't know, they just don't go down enough. They just don't know their customer. And if you don't inherently know your customer and the reasons why they want to buy from you, then how can you really create a defined value proposition for them if you don't know your customer or your potential customer enough?
So what is a value proposition?
I've got a slide on that.
Well, why don't we just jump? Is it the next one? I don't know.
I don't
want to push you
So-
around. Here we go. Well, so what is this thing?
So this is, for those of you that don't know, this is the value proposition canvas that was created by Strategizer, that created the business model canvas. The fundamental thing that I love using this for is because it gets your assumptions out of your head about a potential customer segment, right? And then allows you to kind of build on that. And you can go, if you haven't seen this before, you can go away and look at the video on this. The fundamental premise on the right-hand side, the circle, is the customer profile, right? The left-hand side, the square, is the product, right? The offering.
Yep.
Typically, as humans, we're solution orientated. So what we do is, comes back to this point you were saying before, is we jump into the right side and we go, I've got to go and build something because I've got to show someone, or I can't release it, or I can't, whatever it is.
Yep.
But the thing is, if you really understand your customer and the job that they need to do, we all have to do jobs, right? And they might be social, emotional, functional jobs. We all have to do these jobs, and sometimes it's painful to do that.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
We still do what we have to do.
Yep.
I still had to get in the car and come here
To
as
make
we're
your
preparing.
coffee, and I couldn't be bothered.
And I didn't get a coffee,
Yeah.
right? So that's a bit painful for me.
Yeah, and
right?
me. Yeah.
But if you understand that and the motivations and the human side of things, then what you can do is you can actually go back to your product or your service or your offering,
Yep.
and you can highlight what you've got that will relieve that pain to do that job.
Yes.
So I always say to people in this, the magic happens from the sides across the bottom. The other bits across the top, the gains and the gain creators,
good point.
is kind of like they're not the motivations that somebody is going to buy your widget, but they are the feel-good things that might be the, I'm going to solve this problem down the bottom, but if I get this extra thing for free,
bonus.
it's a bonus.
Yeah. So are we, again, without getting, I don't know if you know the answer, is human behaviour driven to avoid pain rather than go for gain almost? To sort of say, well, it hurts my soul every time I have to log in and do something.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's not that I want to save time, it's a bonus, but it just hurts me because I have to do these things and it breaks my brain and all these things are really frustrating, really hard to do.
Yeah.
Oh, great, you've got a choice for that. Sweet. Oh, and now it's made my life easier. So if you don't know, but I completely agree. Like if you're looking at, because we always talk about, oh, cool, they love this, it's going to make their life faster and it's going to be all these things. And you go, yeah, those are all gains, but have you solved a pain point?
Yeah. And that's fundamentally, what we do, right? Is we've got to look at how do we find those problems to solve, and then who is motivated enough to actually put their hand in their pocket to give you their cash.
Yes, is the problem big enough
to solve it?
Yep.
Right, and then you can build a whole business model around that as well, right? There's plenty of products and services out there that were great technically, and just never had any adoption or very very little adoption.
Yep.
And it's because of that. It's because we go, well, there's another way of solving it. But if you speak to the founders, they 100% believe that this is the new world order and this is everything else that is.
And it's just because an investor wouldn't give you
it's
money.
It's because And then they say, oh, well, the investors won't give me money. And it's like, well, mate, go find a customer and then prove that you can do what you say you're going to do.
And you mentioned assumptions a few times, and these sorts of things is really important. When you start a startup, when somebody starts a startup, my opinion is that they don't start a startup with product only. They start a startup with all the assumptions they want to backfill. Mm-hmm. So it's
hopefully.
It's exactly. Yeah. And they're trying to prove those assumptions out. So if you're filling in something at least from day one, not from day 10 or day 2 even, from day one. Like I've got my idea, but before I even go 2 more seconds down my idea path, start filling this in.
Yeah.
So these tools are there to be used not after you know all the answers and go, look, I've got the answers. No, from day one. And then they are assumptions that you go and talk to customers about.
Yep.
Not your mates, not your mum, not your AI Google search. Mm-hmm. It's actually real people.
Yeah.
So you're backfilling on the assumptions from day one.
Look, a perfect example of this is, and this can be used for startup entrepreneurs or people that are in bigger businesses doing new products, creation, whatever it is. Yep. And I was in one of, a number of years ago, before COVID, back in the good old days.
Glory days.
And I was working with a large national client. And they had this product that they built internally and they wanted to take it from WA nationally. Yep. And so we started with this and we went through and we went, okay, so who's the customer, right? And tried to really define the customer. And we ended up with about 3 or 4 different customers. Probably not defined enough, but enough to move them out of their comfort zone to go, I thought everyone was our customer. Yep. And then we mapped out what jobs did they have to do day to day that we were trying to help them solve. Yep. And of course that was massive. And so someone had the realisation and went, oh, well, this is no wonder why they won't return our calls because they're bloody busy. And you're like, yep, cool. Anyway, we did a bit of work around this and then we went out to try and validate it. And we actually went over east and I went out with salespeople and account managers and, we had a bunch of questions to go and ask these potential customers, right? Without asking leading questions. So you're speaking in general terms because you're hoping they're going to unprompted reveal that they've got this problem, it's a massive problem to solve, right? And they want what you need to do. Yep. And so we went through all of this. We spent a week doing it, and we came back and we kind of unpacked all the data points that we had. And I said, it's really interesting because I didn't really hear anything, right, which actually says they're really looking for this product.
Yep.
And they went, no, they did, but that's just because you don't know the industry.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but that's the whole point, is you want it to be direct, right? You need fact. 70% of people, unprompted, said they had a problem with X and they were actively looking to solve the problem and had, tried to cobble together a solution or did something.
Yep.
And so their internal bias was, no, they said that, but they just didn't say it in as many words. And
That's what they meant.
It's what they meant.
Yeah.
Now, they went on to invest millions of dollars in building this product out. Mm-hmm. It didn't really go anywhere. And then they gave it to somebody else.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I think the thing for me is, go to the next slide.
Yeah.
If I've got this.
You have got this.
I've got this. Right, that magic number.
Is that how old you are?
No, I wish.
Oh, crap.
Mate, lots more work in me yet.
Yeah.
So 72% is the research that Strategizer conducted around the value proposition, which is 72% of new products or services or offerings that we produce today have no definable alignment, so they're not taken up.
Wow. Actually, that sounds fair.
So it sounds fair, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about that number...
Actually, it sounds like a low number.
And if you take that number and then you kind of look at the data before around why startups fail, you actually start to get to this point that we waste a whole bunch of time, right, and resources and effort trying to create these things because we don't actually go out and work out what the problem is and for who and how can we deliver value to them through that product or service or offering.
Yep. So we also get we get a lot of, see if I'm right or not, but you go, okay, someone builds something, they realise it's not hitting the market, then they go, oh, cool, that means I've got to pivot. And then they might have one client ask for that thing because it's their problem. They go, cool, that's what. So where does this fit on that? If you're like, oh, I'm just going to change it a little bit and keep pivoting my technology because I've had one person request that change, or it's I've got it a little bit wrong.
Yeah, you get caught. So if we're talking about like tech around that, which is relatively easier to do, but you end up in a feature spiral because it doesn't hit the mark.
Yeah, so you keep chasing.
Right, and you might, let's say you have raised some money, or let's say you're building a team and you're pulling money out of your mortgage or your asset, right? Yep. What ends up happening is you kind of build something, you take it out to market, you don't really understand your customer, you go out, they don't really buy it, and then you go, oh, that's because they said, oh, if it did this, we might be more interested.
That's the one.
So you disappear off and you make it do that, and then you go back, and then they go, oh, yeah, that's cool. And you go, well, where's the sale? And they go, oh, well, no, I didn't say that we'd buy it. Yeah. I just said it would be cool if it did this.
Yep.
And I think, this is where we get caught in this just spiral around, I've got to keep producing something. And there is an element of, iterations and tech and everything else.
Yeah.
But if you understand where you're going and you understand your customer and your potential customer segment, then it's going to help you on that pathway and that journey.
Yeah.
I think the other thing around this as well, right, is, if we're looking at 7 out of 10 products or services don't deliver the value that somebody expects them to. And if we look at 75% of startups fail because they build something that nobody wants or they run out of cash.
Yep.
What can you do to kind of increase that, right? And the number one thing is go and speak to people. It's not hard, but we're losing the art of doing it because it's too easy to go, I'll just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah. But also, do you see any? And there are different sort of startups. So again, generalising to an extent, but also you mentioned bias and stuff as well at the beginning. If you get, I parked stuff that I worked on and I put a lot of effort into it, and I just had to put a bullet in it, so to say, no, it's done. It's polished. Yeah. You see too many people that just keep doubling down without wanting to take that. No, I've got to park this. Again, so I guess, but you hear a lot about perseverance. You've got to work hard. There's no shortage. Completely agree. But you have to there was no easy win.
No, there's not, right?
So how do you know the difference between going, okay, that's done, I should park it, or I should keep going?
So I really like that question because there is two. I won't say it's a great question. As
we can
people
edit
normally
that out.
say.
You said great question. Fix that. Yep.
So what people often ask for is they'll say, "Oh, but I hear two streams of thought, right? There's people that'll make a big song and dance about it. I was down to my last $100. I was living on my mate's, couch. I was living on 2-minute noodles, and then all of a sudden it turned.
Yeah.
Right?
Just kept going, and it was suddenly.
And then suddenly,
Which happens.
the only decision I've got to make is it a red, a yellow, or a blue Ferrari?
Or do I get,
Right?
Do I get a Lambo or a
Yeah,
Ferrari?
yeah, that's it,
It's
right?
tough life. Yeah.
So the other side of it is a whole bunch of people will say you've got to keep pivoting, right? If it's dead, you just move, right? Kill it and move on. Kill it and move on, right? Keep doing something. And I don't have a specific answer because both are correct. However, what I will say is the answer based on your circumstance and where you are at that moment in time is the right answer for you and the team.
Yep.
So don't look for other people to kind of go, oh, well, they did it, so I need to keep doing it.
No.
You need to sit there and think about what is right for you with a whole bunch of other factors, right, for the here and now.
And that continual decision to do I keep going forward or not, I believe, is based on have you continued to justify your assumptions in a positive way, or are you basically going back to the drawing board, which is fine. If you want to go back to the drawing board, but are you learning by going back to that drawing board? And I look at the valley of death as the journey. You start here, you go down, come up again. You're supposed to go forwards. Sometimes on that valley you have to go backwards a little bit. And it's okay to go backwards. But as long as you reset this decision matrix, to say, okay, I'm going backwards or I'm staying put and I'm going to keep pivoting my business model, my value proposition until it kicks. Or you run out of personal runway to go, okay, no, I've had a crack. So it's not, so I think, putting words in your mouth,
I'll have a drink.
it's a personal decision.
It is, absolutely.
But if your personal decision is because you think that's what you have to do as a startup is to basically keep flogging yourself, well, no, it's not quite right. It's not why you, it's not like, yes, you have to work hard. It is stressful. It is hard.
It is hard, right? But as I say to people, right, don't come and complain to me because you chose this life, right? So people come through and they go, mate, this is hard. And I go, yeah, I know it is, but just go and do the work, right, and work it out. But the thing is, even if, like one of my lecturers doing my masters, he managed to sell a number of businesses over the years. Some had no direction, but they had positioning and assets in the business, and they were able to kind of offload it at the last minute, right? And he said most people will never choose to actually have a crack at something. So if you go out there and you have a crack,
you're a winner. If in my mind, if you have a crack, you're a winner.
Yeah, correct. Right, and that's
however it goes.
Absolutely. But if it's not, it depends, right? How do you define success? So if you define success as the yellow Ferrari, and that's cool. But if you have more of a growth mindset and say, I'm going to go on this journey, I'm going to try something myself, I'm going to try and pull a team together, I'm going to try and raise some money, I'm going to try and solve a problem, right? I'm going to try and deliver value. And even if it can't sustain your lifestyle.
You had a go.
You've had a crack, right? But you get to that point where you will know more about yourself. You will learn skills that you could never learn in a textbook, right? And my lecturer said, what you'll do is you'll pop out the other end and then you could go into, a management consulting role, right? And make 250 grand a year because you have a unique set of skills because it's not skills that
you can't learn any other way.
You can't learn any other way. So there's, like this, there are models, there are frameworks, there are all these things. And I often say to people is they're useful until they're not.
Yes.
The fundamental premise is building up that momentum to kind of work through this, to kind of unpack what's the value that I'm delivering for someone.
And there are tools. So you nailed a couple of, obviously, loads of really important points. There are tools. There are books. You've got Steve Blank and all the heroes of Lean and all those sorts of things. These tools.
Ash Murrier,
Exactly. So first of all, if you're not applying those tools, then you're actually... you're a bit of a gumby, in my opinion, because there is knowledge. Now, you have to apply it and you have to learn how to use it. So this here, if you haven't known about it, that's fine. Now you know about it. This is, if you're, your tool belt of startups.
This is my number one.
Exactly.
It's my number one.
You can't say the startups come and say, yeah, but I'm different, I'm special, and these don't apply to me. You go, no, they apply to everybody.
I've heard it all before.
Yeah. So everyone's a winner if you're having a crack.
Yeah.
But you're a bit of a gumby if you have a crack and you haven't looked at all this sort of stuff, you haven't even picked up Steve Blank's book or Lean Startup and had a read. You go, no, and these books haven't been around for 2 years. They've been around for 20, 30 years. 40 maybe, I don't know now.
Well, they keep reinvigorating them, but the fundamental premise is the same stuff, right?
The startup journey is a journey that everybody has been on. Yes, we are all different, and our products are different, but the steps are the same.
Yeah.
And so, but also, you know, I've said this, I think, in the other ones as well. A startup is just another business.
Yeah, it is.
It's harder than other businesses because it's got all this extra uncertainty.
Yeah.
But if you're a startup, and like you said, and you go, oh, this is hard, you go, well, dude, it's supposed to be hard.
It's supposed to be hard. Otherwise, like, everyone will be doing it.
Yeah, and the raising the funds. So we run business, that is hard. You employ people, that is hard. But the journey is what you're going for. But also, when you're thinking about this pathway, also think about do you want to run it? Do you not want to run it? Do you want to get out? Do you which is all cool. There is no like you have to be a unicorn. Yeah. Like even if you just go for 3 months, that's a win. You've had a crack. You've had a go and you go, actually no. Or you go for 6 or 12, everyone's different.
I think I'll give you a really good example of this. So my previous business, founded with a co-founder, we had this idea of building an accelerator incubator, bit of a co-working space, and we were going to invest in businesses, and then we'd have this portfolio of businesses. And at the time, there were lots of lots of people trying to do this around Australia and the world, and we were trying to do something a bit different. And you know, some people were going, sort your cash flow out first, and then you can do the fun stuff. We kind of went, let's do the fun stuff, and then we'll try and sort the cash flow out. Yeah. And we raised some money into that model, and you know, ran it for 4.5 years or something.
That's great.
And then it got to the point where, so again, my personal situation, my second daughter was going to private school, which is always great. And so I just couldn't afford it. That particular vehicle was not the vehicle that was going to support my lifestyle, right? And there's a whole bunch of things now that I took into account with that. So, you know, it was the hardest decision ever to leave that business.
Of course.
And I actually left to go and get a job. And I was like, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to buckle down. I've got to do something in that regard, right? And it was really interesting that when I left, the phone started ringing. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting, right? Because before, people kind of didn't want to, I was trying to do a lot of the corporate like innovation stuff to fix the business model, fix the inputs. And then all of a sudden, people were going, oh, now that you're out, can I talk to you about this? And I went, but hang on a minute, what? No. We were doing this before, and they went, no, but I didn't get that before. I didn't get the value proposition that you could bring because everybody had a different point of view. Yep. But then when I was unencumbered and it was just me, they went, I want you. Yep. And so I didn't know where it was going to go, and I initially just went, if I can support myself for 3 months, then we'll take stock and see what happened. Yep. And then I got to 3 months, and then there was a couple of other things popped up, and I went, all right, if I get to 6 months, we'll do the same, right? So this kind of iteration and testing, and and it's still there today. So I've got my own branded website, and I've got Innovation Studios, which is my company website, because I didn't know whether I was going to. I built some software consulting businesses previously, and I didn't know at the time whether I was going to build another consulting business around innovation, startups and the likes, or whether I was just going to build a brand around me. And so I had two options, and I was just trying to see where people come. But at the end of the day, the content that's up there is the content that's been there for like 8 years, because people just ring me.
But you had, at that stage, you had two sets of functions that you were testing out.
Yeah.
So your value proposition was like, I'm not sure. So you're going to run both of them in parallel for a little while to see what works. Yeah. So the startup model. Yep. Run them both until one business becomes not a startup anymore, becomes a business. That's great. And again, you've got so much of that.
It's direct feedback as well. Like there's been times where people have come to me and said, oh, we've got a bigger piece of work for you. Yep. Can you bring more people in? And I had to be really, really conscious to go, that's not my value proposition, right, is to body shop other people, right? Because the relationships I have with my customers, they're deep, right? And they can ring me about anything. We move stuff around all the time. I have a no dickhead policy. I've got to that point. So I've so I've
Let me
sacked,
through.
so I've sacked a few clients over the years.
Yep.
And I get to pick and choose what I do. But if I change that business model
It's a different business
and
model.
bolted other people in, then all of a sudden it's not about that.
Yep.
Now mine has a ceiling, and that's cool. But I do other things, like I'm back into active angel investing.
Yep.
I'm on an investment committee for a $14 million fund out of Victoria.
Yep.
Every now and again I do speaking gigs, right?
Yep.
So there's ways to kind of tinker around the edges, but it comes from really knowing and defining who my customer is.
Yep. What do they want?
Yeah,
And
and if you'd have said to me 8.5, nearly 9 years ago, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? I don't know. I just went, I've got to do 3 months to pay the bills, and that was it. But I was open to where this kind of took me.
So what I think one of the lots of thanks for sharing, really cool. One of the important things that a lot of startups miss in that is, what's my goal? What does future me want? Future me doesn't want a Ferrari. Would like a Ferrari, but I'm not working to get a Ferrari. I'm working because I've got a family, I love my kids, I've got and I want to have the freedom to choose. And you go, cool. Now that's a startup.
Yeah.
You can. That's like, okay, I want to be there. Oh, if you want your startup to have 200 people and have a Ferrari, awesome.
Yeah, go for it.
But also then understand your value proposition mix to say, well, therefore, this many clients, this much revenue per client. So when you as a startup have a bigger vision and goal, come back to your assumption set and go, if you want a Ferrari,
absolutely.
does where this is going lead to that?
Yeah.
And so always, the first thing I always say to companies as well, what do you want? Not what does your startup want, what do you want?
Yeah, that's it. And that's because you have the ability. You have that ability, and that is one of the things as being a startup founder or an innovator, is you get to decide what your playbook is.
Yep.
And, look, there are a lot of people that they start consulting businesses with a couple of mates, right? And then all of a sudden they get into what I call the hamster wheel.
Yep.
Right? And they go, oh, have you got some more people? And you go, oh, we'll make a bit more margin and we can do this. All of a sudden you wake up and you've got 40, 50 people and you've got a decent payroll, right? And it's a different business. And I've been there, right? And I'm like, I just don't want that.
No. And so you've got you and you've got your business, and which is fine. But when you start your startup, whoever you are, or even as you're progressing in your business, you're going to step back every now and again and go, where am I? What does future me want? And I think one of the things as well that future you wants is going to change in 12 months. So you've got to have that open conversation with yourself, with your with your business partners, to go, actually, my life's changed a little bit, dude.
Yeah.
I personally need to pivot. Now, is the business going to be able to pivot with me, or do we go in separate directions?
And that's okay. But a lot of people don't have that conversation. Right, and then they end up in a world that they don't like, and then the rest of their life falls apart, and it's shit, right?
Yep, it's tough.
But one thing when you were talking about this, so I used to have ideas all the time. Like I could walk, well, I still do, but I kind of suppress them now. And the way that came about is I would get so excited on the solution side, the square, and I'd be like, I could do this, and I could do that, and I could do that, and and I come from a technology background, with strategy and entrepreneurship and everything else. And I got to this point that you've probably heard me say before, that to quieten those ideas is what I do now, is where an idea pops up, is I just say to myself, all ideas are shit, right?
That's a good one.
Until they're not.
Yep.
And the way they're not is I go out and now I do a whole bunch of research, right?
Perfect.
And it doesn't have to be huge. Could be speaking to 50, 60, 70 people.
Yep.
But put the time and effort into that, and you'll be amazed at what comes out the other side.
Yeah. And also, do you want to then? Can you be bothered to have those 50 conversations? That makes you go, that was a cool idea. I just can't be asked.
Correct.
People, park it. Then you've given yourself that barrier that you tell everybody else to do.
Correct.
So great idea. We've all got them.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to do the boring bit? So we've got the fun bit. I'm going to go and build it. I'm going to do it, fun stuff, and talk to people about how cool it is. Yeah. No, let's do the boring bit first.
Yeah.
And you go, can't be bothered.
That's it. And I can tell you now that most people won't do the boring bit. So if you spend the time and effort to go and do the boring bit to work out your value proposition against solving a problem for a certain customer, you're already in front of everybody else that just goes, no, I've just got to build something really quickly.
Well,
and
we're
go and
going to
show
call
customers.
this series the boring series.
Yeah.
Because
Just do the
all
simple
this
shit,
stuff
right?
is the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Now, we are having a chat, which is awesome.
What else have I got in there? 72,
This
we've
one,
done that.
Can you just explain this? Because I think this is gold.
Yeah. So this helps you craft what's called a high level value proposition.
Yep.
And so once you've got your value proposition canvas done, right, and you want to be really succinct on it as well, right?
Yep.
So this is just a framework that says our, and then you take your product or service, right, from the box, the square, helps the customer segment who wants to do a specific job, right, by reducing or whatever the verb, right, for a pain, and increasing a verb for the customer gain.
It's awesome.
Right, and it's really, really simple. And I always say to people, stick to the framework until you get really good at speaking succinctly.
In that language.
Right, in that language. Because as soon as you try and go, oh yeah, I've got this, I'll do it now, and you ask people to say it, all of a sudden you just end up with this diatribe and you're like, no, stick to this until
Don't
you get
change
really
those
good at
words. If you change our to, we are thinking about doing this, or this is what we'd like to do. No, you failed.
Yep.
Follow every single one of those words, fill in those gaps exactly how
That's it.
Don't break the formula.
No.
Because then it's pointless using the tool.
Correct. And then what happens is you take this and you go, hey, I've got a customer segment and I can drop this into, if you do need to raise money, I can drop this into a pitch deck. And straight away it makes it really, really simple. Is I had someone the other day and they're like, they just said they met with someone and their head was exploding afterwards because they couldn't explain simply what they were trying to do. And every time that they asked them, they just got more and more detailed into the solution rather than the opportunity around
and I take it is really hard to get this. So we're not saying this is easy.
No.
No, this is really hard to get right.
You got to think it hurts.
It does. But if you can't get it right, then you can't get an investor, really. You can't sell to customers.
Yeah.
You can't explain it to yourself. I'm not saying this is easy to fill in.
No. It's simple in its execution, but it's complex in the fact that you've got to sit and think about it, right?
Yep.
And it's the same as what's the next slide I put in? I can't remember. There's some stuff. So that's going out and speaking to people. We've talked about that. Go to the next one. So this is the other thing as well that I'll touch on quickly before I'll kind of just wrap up my chitter-chat a bit. But values a round trip, right? So you have, when you're in business, you have value for your end users that you've got to work out how you deliver that, right?
So customers.
Right, yep. So you've got to work out, entrepreneurship is about how you create value, how you capture value, and how you deliver value.
Cool, like it.
And everybody that's in there, so you've got to work out how do you deliver value for the company? How do you deliver value for your channel partners? How do you deliver value for your employees? How you deliver value for your shareholders?
Awesome.
The community you're playing in, and also your mates, the
It's not my
tax
mate at
man.
the moment.
No, I've seen your.
See my bullet, mate. Get that bandwagon out.
And so that you've got to sit there. The money you give the tax man is creating value for them. So you've got to work out how can I make this thing profitable.
Everybody has to getting something out of it.
Everybody's got to be getting something out of it, right? And I think we often forget about that, right? As we start to build this out.
No, and that's if you're just a regular business, we can easily forget about that because you go, okay, cool. I'm worried about me, the business owner, putting millions of dollars in my pocket and getting that Ferrari. You go, well, hold on, what about my staff?
Yeah, exactly.
What about my community? So if you start dropping the value to everybody else, you break your circle. That's
so
cool.
the other thing,
like
go to the next.
I like that.
Go to the next. I've got a couple of slides which are a bit more esoteric, right?
Oh.
So good old Warren Buffett. Price is what you pay,
man.
value is what you get.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So, and this is, again, something to think about, quite often where we started with that Steve Blank quote, delivering a solution faster, cheaper, better.
Yep.
Quite often I'm working with people and they don't really know about the customer and the problem they're solving, so they go, oh, it's just 10% cheaper. We can do it more efficiently.
Yep.
And so when I say to them, go and find out, right, why they're paying, why they're using that client, what they're doing, and especially with bigger things, right, like B2B businesses, quite often they've signed a contract, or if it's heavy equipment, right, and it's got depreciation schedules against it, they go, oh no, this is going to be the new gold standard, this is going to be cheaper, this is going to be more efficient. And you go, yeah, that's great, but you know what? They've got 8 years of a depreciation cycle still to go, so no one in that business is going to change it, right? oh, this particular business has just rolled out a whole platform because they had a plethora of individual apps that never used to talk to each other. But then you're coming along going, I've got the new app,
that everyone
right?
should have.
And they go, well, no, because I've just invested $20 million. So even if it's better, they're not going to move. That's that whole understanding the lack of motivation to move.
Yep.
Now, if you come along and you start talking to a particular customer segment and they're all going, we're all looking for this, we're having discussions, even our competitors are having discussions, we've tried this, that didn't work, we've tried that. That's probably more of an opportunity to kind of unpack where the value lies in that, and that could be a customer segment that you go after.
Yep.
Now, you may want to get into something massive, but where you want to start where you can get traction, because that will help you if you do need to raise money, because then it's not, oh, trust me, I can tell a great story. Then it's, no, we went out, we understood the customer, we solved this problem, we deployed it to 6 customers, right? They've given it to another 3 others, but actually, you know what, at the moment, all of a sudden my head's sore because I've got all these people coming internationally because they want my product as well. Shit, we need a bunch of money to go faster. Yeah. That is a
good problem.
It's a great problem to have, and investors will look at that as well and go, I'm just putting fuel into your kitty so that you can go faster, so you can make more money and take this opportunity.
Yeah, exactly right. But you've found what your customers wanted.
That's it. So then one more. I think I've got one more. So this is the other thing, right? A lot of this about human motivation, right? David Ogilvy, who
they say what they think, they don't do what they say. No one does what they say.
Correct, right?
I'll buy that.
So this is, so those of you that don't know, David Ogilvy founded Ogilvy and Mather, one of the original kind of marketing agencies. It was the foundation for Mad Men as well, the TV series. And a lot of this all comes back to human behaviour, psychology, right?
Yep.
And so what we try and do is, if we think about what's the human aspect of what we're trying to achieve and who are the humans that we need to interact with, I think it potentially changes your view of the world, right, to go out and do it. Yep. But this is kind of a warning that just when you think, right, and they tell you this, so you want to be looking for action, not just what they say they're going to do.
There's all those, loads of good stuff around this. There's the yeses that aren't yeses.
Yeah, there's all sorts, right?
But it comes back exactly like you said, to behaviour. Our brains are wired to actually not want to change.
Yeah.
That's just human behaviour.
Yeah.
And you talk to these people, so this is particularly when in the early stages you're having these customer conversations, you're building up that theory that you found the pain point, you found that, and they've all said yes, that they like it. But then when you put the first sales order in front of them, and you actually ask them to change, so it's not even often the sales order, it's the change something they're doing, then they don't do it.
Yeah.
But you said you would.
I know that. But I've just had my budget pulled.
Yeah, or I've got to go and talk to... It hurts your soul.
Absolutely.
Because this is what is the... so it's not, does the technology work again? It's like, will they now put their hand in their pocket and or support
That's my fundamental thing.
Right? I love it. Any Q's and A's before we start, as we're wrapping up? Let me just...
Did I have another slide, or was that the last one?
Let's keep an eye on your slide.
That's
a good one.
So I think the interesting, if people are thinking about questions with this, right, is the key to all of this is human behaviour, right? Yep. And if you can start to map this out and you're growing your business, you've got some early customers, you're all kind of, it's moving in the right direction, and you start to have to get more people doing things for you. So you need marketing, right, to get more leads. Yep. If you fundamentally know your customer and the value proposition, you give that to your marketing people, and they go, I now understand the customer profile and the messaging that we need.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
If you've done early founder sales, which we all have to do, and whether you like it or not, if you've got a startup, you are the salespeople. Yes. Right? Because again, one of the things I often say to people is, don't think of it as sales. Think of it as solving somebody else's problem. Yes. And then they will naturally, you do them a favour. They will buy from you. You don't have to sell from them.
No, exactly.
Sell to them.
Your sale isn't actually a sale. It's
a pull. Yeah. And then when you get that, when you hire salespeople, and they're the hardest people in the world to hire because they're great bullshitters, you can give them a pack and say, here's
This
the
is how you do
motivations.
it.
This is what we've done. We
Yep.
just want you to amplify this now.
Yep.
Whereas, you know, if they come in, you can waste hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Yep.
right, hiring the wrong person to try and amplify your business.
I got a phone call. It's a little quick anecdote. I got a phone call the other day from an online salesperson. Tech company started up, and they just randomly phoned me and they said, "Hey, can you buy this or can you import?" And the sales pitch was that bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and I was. They caught me at a good time. I was like, "I'm just going to pause for one moment." I said, "Do you know why this has got any value for me?" He's like, and I went, "I am so confused right now."
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, glad you said that. I'm new at this job, and I'm really." I was like, "Okay, well, let's just practice your sales pitch a little bit." It was fundamentally just all over the shop.
Yeah.
And when he put me onto the actual sales manager for his team, who then within 30 seconds gave me one of those pitches.
Yeah.
I was like, "That makes sense.
Now I
I'm
get
interested."
it. Yeah. Yep.
But you have to give them the pack.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're just going to say random stuff.
Yeah.
And so you've got to break the hard yards yourself.
That's it.
Looking at the no Q&As, you
Easy.
are blowing them away.
It's good. It's 1 o'clock. It's lunchtime.
It is, well, it's the end of lunchtime. It's beer o'clock nearly. I want to ask I was stealing this line from, I don't know if you listen to the Trigonometry podcast almost. Stealing the line, what conversations are we not having that we should be having in startup world? Whether you're in Australia or in WA, or what conversations should we have less of? Which is probably quite a long list.
Someone said something to me going over to Roddo before Christmas for the West Tech Fest.
Yes.
And they said they were trying to do some stuff around what do we want to be known as? What do we want to stand for in the West Australian kind of startup ecosystem? And I kind of lost my shit. Because I went,
here we go.
If we're still having this conversation 15 years later from when I started in this, then we have not moved on.
And why do we care?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'm
Realistically,
like...
seriously, what do we got to know about for? We want to just be...
So, here's a way. Here's a way that I can do it, right?
Again, you got me on the...
I've got this... I don't know. I don't know whether I've stolen it from someone or acquired it. I don't know.
It's yours now.
Action precedes clarity.
Hell yeah.
And so for me, it's about going out, putting it into action, right? Going to learn, understand, all that kind of stuff. And I think...
Deliver.
Yeah, the more we can do that with a bit of the, trying to get this 70% of failure rate and 70% of products and services that aren't needed. If we can get that down to, say, 30%, right, you imagine how much extra resource we've got in the world today to be able to solve other problems. Because there's some bloody big problems to solve.
There's some awesome big challenges going on. The fundamentally, you're right. It's why we're doing this series, effectively. So it's like, we just want to see you cool people out there having a crack, getting a little bit of the right direction.
Yeah.
To sort of say, okay, cool, action. Yeah. If that's all it's about, but action directed in the right way.
Yeah.
So say, let's just cut the BS. Let's just go, no, you need to get this bit right. If you get this bit right, the rest of it, the first one was, if you get your boring accounting things right, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
If you get so Mike's one from last time, if you get your focus right on how to sell, not how to pitch your business, and you actually get that conversation right, if you get your engine of your financial model right, good times.
Yeah.
Everything else is superfluous.
Yep.
And sort of a nice to have rather than a must have, I guess.
And if you're startups, you've got more flexibility. If you're in a corporate innovator, right, you've got more resources, but it's harder because nobody wants to move or it's too hard to move. Yep. There is no right answer in any of this, right?
No.
But it's just go out, try and change the world,
have a crack.
one problem at a time.
But good luck to everybody that does it, basically.
Yep.
It's all good fun for you and for us to sort of chat about.
It was good on a rainy Friday.
We've survived. Thank you, mate. Appreciate your time.
Always.
Wonderful.
Unlike me to have an opinion and talk about some stuff.
I had to twist your arm. But no, thank you, everybody out there.
That was good.
Have a great weekend.
Cool.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's it. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to carry the conversation. More than happy.
He's the man. Let us know.
Yep.
And if anybody wants us to talk about, I've got a secret big next session coming up that's just locking in the speaker. So watch this space for the next one.
Cool.
But see you on the flip side. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone.